Welcome to the North Forge Discovery Series. Today's webinar will be discussing how to understand the buyer persona as the second part of the 8-webinar discovery series on content marketing. Before we begin the webinar, we acknowledge that we are meeting virtually on the ancestral lands of Treaty 1 territory, the traditional gathering place of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene people, and the traditional homeland of the Métis people. For those of you who are new to North Forge, new to our webinars, North Forge is the innovation partner of the province of Manitoba and an incubator accelerator supporting the growth of Canadian science-based, technology-enabled, and advanced manufacturing startups, from the ideation stage all the way through to acceleration. We fuel Manitoba's innovation economy, providing entrepreneurs with industry-leading mentors, award-winning growth coaches, and rockstar subject matter experts in our new 4-stage founders program. North Forge also has North America's largest nonprofit, publicly accessible fabrication lab located right here in Winnipeg's Exchange District. Our Fab Lab has helped over 3,000 entrepreneurs develop over 7,500 prototypes using more than $3 million of precision advanced manufacturing equipment since 2011. Our North Forge Discovery Series are free events that we host in conjunction and promotion with our Founders Program. If you have a business idea and would like to find out more about our Founders Program, please visit our website or reach out to our Program and Communication Manager, Krista Kowalik. I'll place her contact information in the chat. With that, I would like to welcome Kevin Gordon, founder of Mini and Director of Marketing for TechBlocks. Kevin was born in technology and raised in marketing. His 20 years experience includes a unique blend of technical and marketing experience, which has allowed Kevin to lead a team of high-performing developers and system administrators to build integrated omnichannel marketing sales technology platforms used in retail stores across Canada and the US. And now, Kevin, the floor is all yours.
Thanks, Tina, and welcome everybody to day 2. I'm really excited to present on what persona development can look like for your business. And we'll start off with a little bit of a recap of what we learned on Tuesday. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on the slide here. So going back to Tuesday, we talked about a lot of different things. We talked about how people learn. We talked about what content channels are most thoroughly consumed versus just skimmed. We talked about the strategy behind creating content, starting with video in mind and then working your way down to snippets. And we talked a little bit about content psychology. And today we're going to expand on that a little bit more. So when we think back to Tuesday, content marketing is really just a strategic approach of using and distributing valuable content that is relevant and consistent to attract buyers. So this is the inbound methodology or the pull approach, where you want customers or buyers to come to you organically instead of you having to do big advertising campaigns. And as we discussed, one of the biggest benefits of doing so is it's actually more cost effective to have an inbound marketing or an inbound lead versus having to do a paid campaign to attract those people. So we talked about this marketing flywheel, and this is going to be the basis of the rest of the series starting next week. So again, on the outer ring, we have the awareness, the consideration, the decision, and the raving fan. This falls into your typical sales cycle of awareness, consideration, decision, but adding in the raving fan because, of course, we want our happy customers to continue to promote us. On the inner ring, we have our partner life cycle, and the partner life cycle is all about the journey that person's going through in their head. So to recap, they start at the top in the blue with the problem research. They know there's something wrong. They just don't know what it is. And they're going to start their research journey. So the analogy I used was buying a car. Your car might be making some noise. It might be leaking fluid. You don't know why. So you go to Google, you say, hey, Mr. Google, whatever is happening. Or you might feel sick. I'm feeling sick. So you go to WebMD and you start typing in your symptoms, and WebMD gives you your results and tells you what they think is happening. That is problem research. Then you go into the solution consideration. So let's say I'm sick. I feel like crap and I don't know why. So WebMD will probably say you have COVID-19, stay at home, since that's what everybody is saying these days. But there might be some solutions. They could say, hey, it looks like you have the flu. you could do absolutely nothing, feel better in a few days. You could take some Tylenol, you could take some cough and flu medicine, you could take some homeopathic or natural solutions, whatever that might be. And then you go into the vendor selection. Well, I might say, look, I want to get better a little bit faster. I don't like feeling sick. So I'm going to go into Rexall, or I'm going to go to Shoppers Drug Mart or Sobeys or wherever, and I'm going to pick up whatever I want. In this case, vendor selection, might be based on time. It might be based on distance. If it's at 2 o'clock in the morning, it might be 7-Eleven because they're the only ones open. But I'm going to choose a vendor that has the solution that I want and that I'm comfortable buying from. And then, of course, after that, we go into the onboarding and ongoing support. In the case of ongoing for medicine, there's always a pamphlet inside that says, here's how you use our product. Don't drink the entire bottle of cough medicine or you'll feel really, really bad tomorrow. And then, of course, they don't really do anything for ongoing support, but ongoing support, it's all about that ongoing value that you provide to the customer after the transaction. Not as important in consumer packaged goods, but in B2B and B2C sales and services, the ongoing support really just ties everything back together and make sure that your user feels comfortable with your brand. Again, typically the onboarding and the ongoing support is provided by an onboarding team or a customer accounts team. But as marketers and as business owners, it's really our responsibility to control that messaging. So they're getting the same message consistent from the time they first hear about our brands to the time that they're actually making that purchase. Okay, so let's get into what we're working on today. And that is, what is a persona? So a persona is basically a semi-fictitious representation of your actual ideal buyer or buyers. So we're going to go through some examples of what that looks like. And really your persona should be as close to accurate or as close to actual customers as possible. As Christian was saying earlier, Northforge did focus groups, they did research. That is where you want to start if you have the budget to do so. Now, of course, a lot of us are founders and a lot of us don't have budgets to run focus groups. We don't have money to bring in people like Market Force or Environics to do studies for us. I can tell you when I was working at Dufresne Furniture, I think we brought in Environics to do a survey on where our customers are. And I think it was like a 6-figure project for them to tell us what personas of people buy Dufresne Furniture. It's not cheap. So, but you can do a lot of this on your own through a combination of internal research and through using tools and surveys and things like Typeform or SurveyMonkey or Google Forms, or picking up the phone and just calling somebody. And so why it matters. Here's an interesting statistic for you. According to IBM, 81% of marketers think we actually know what our consumers want. 78% of those consumers feel we have no idea what they want. So you can see the disconnect. We think we know what the consumers want. The consumers are saying, yeah, you really don't. And what's worse is 79% of those consumers feel that we're giving them the wrong information that's irrelevant to what they're looking for. So when you think of your content marketing, when you think of all the ads you're putting out there, all the brochures and white papers and cases, whatever it is you're doing, consumers are just basically saying, it's not relevant to us. And that's a scary proposition. So as an example of where, this can actually go wrong, I don't know how many people here are old enough to remember New Coke in the 80s. Coca-Cola decided that they really wanted to compete with Pepsi. They found that in blind taste tests, people liked Pepsi, in blind taste tests, people like Pepsi better. So Coke decided, well, they're just going to revamp their entire recipe and try to copy Coke, or sorry, try to copy Pepsi. Didn't work. And they lost a lot of market share. They lost a lot of customers. And what they failed to understand was people who drank Coke preferred Coke because Coke isn't as sweet as Pepsi. In a blind taste test, people prefer Pepsi over Coke because they get that instant gratification of very sweet flavor. And we're actually going to talk about that as a driver of consumer behavior, but people like that instant gratification of something super sweet. But on a long term, over a can or a bottle of soft drink, people actually preferred Coke over Pepsi because the sweetness became too much if you were to drink an entire can or entire bottle. So Coke missed the mark and they decided to try to copy Pepsi, and it didn't work. In 2012, JCPenney did the same thing. Their brand was getting a little bit stagnant, so they brought on Ron Johnson, who was the former CEO of the Apple retail stores. After a month, he decided that he was going to can the couponing system that JCPenney had become very well known for. In doing so, he came out with this everyday low prices thing. And it backfired. Within a year, they lost $1 billion. And they had a very slippery slope downwards. 6 months after that, Ron Johnson was canned as CEO of JCPenney. And he admitted later that the reason why it didn't work is he just didn't understand the customers. He thought, and again, thought that the consumers shopping at JCPenney were just getting tired of all the coupons. The reality is it's what people loved about JCPenney. So without doing research, he decided to make a change. And that change backfired and cost him his job and the company $1 billion. So it's important to make sure you really understand who your customers are, not just guess. Now, if you're a founder at the early days of your company, where you don't necessarily have a lot of customers yet, or you haven't gone to market yet, you might not have actual information that you can use to back up your persona case studies or your persona briefs. And that's okay. You can at least take some educated guesses, and we'll talk about kind of what that looks like. So some of the big benefits, and there's a lot of value to why building a persona is something everyone should be doing. And first and foremost, it really just humanizes your audience. Consumers don't like being blindly sold to. They're people. And your brand, what people think of your business is not what you say it is. It's what your customers say it is. So to really understand the value you're bringing and the understanding the brand persona or the brand identity that people think of you as, you have to go out there and ask. Humans have really complex patterns of behaviors and patterns, and you can get this, you can model this behavior if you ask people and you learn more about them. So you can really flesh out the ideal human targeting for your product. Also allows for better focused product development. So if we think of Northforge, and Christian talked about it earlier, but if you think of Northforge, we have as an organization 4 different levels of founders. There's also the Fab Lab. So if you think of the founders program, the founders may have a completely different need than those who want to go to the Fab Lab and do 3D printing. There's a lot of people who may go to the Fab Lab just because they like to tinker. They like to play with stuff, so they're going to pay their membership fee and go play with the state-of-the-art technology. But then on the founder side, you know, we may not have a whole lot of interest in going to the Fab Lab and using 3D modeling or injection printers or injection molding. So they have to understand, who are they positioning those products or services towards? And then the next one is improving your marketing effectiveness. We all know any one of us can go on Google or Facebook or LinkedIn and buy ads today. You can go put up a billboard on the side of the Disraeli freeway tomorrow if you wanted to. But is that the right tactic? There are 20 million people on LinkedIn in Canada. Are all of them your customer? No. So who are your customers? By diving into the persona and their buying behavior, you can learn more about where is the right channel to target on. For example, in my day job at TechBlocks, we are not a consumer brand. So advertising on a channel like Snapchat or TikTok would never cross my mind. But when I was at SkipTheDishes, advertising on Snapchat and TikTok would be top of mind because that's where consumers are. So for us, our advertising is on platforms like G2.com, Clutch, LinkedIn. It's going to trade publications and working with companies like Gartner and Forrester. Because we're in a B2B space, we have to understand where our buyers are. It also helps you to deliver just staying on this one, going back, it also allows you to change your messaging a little bit. So for example, if my audience is largely Asian demographic based, so like, for example, like Perry, he may want to use Asian actors or Asian talent in his promotional material versus using white-centric or other ethnicities, because that's not going to resonate well. If I'm selling life insurance and I'm targeting a 20-year-old or 25-year-old young new parent, my messaging might be around, you want to protect your wife and your child if you were to die tomorrow. You want to set them up for success and give them income replacement. If I was the same sales rep selling to a 65-year-old, My message may be, don't leave your loved ones with the burden of paying your final expenses. The product is the same. It's life insurance. The message that I'm using to deliver that product is different. Likewise, if I'm advertising to somebody who's a Gen Z, I may use more inclusive advertising like gender neutral pronouns. I might use non-binary people in the advertising. I might use a lot of different strategies that resonate to the Gen Z folks who are more apt and more open towards newer styles of thinking. But if I'm going to advertise to a 65-year-old or somebody who's in the Gen X category, or older folks, that gender neutrality, that fluidity may not be something that they resonate well because it's very new. This, we're talking the last 10 years that these things are becoming more mainstream. So advertising trans people or non-binary people to a 65-year-old white male from the South in the US, it's probably not going to win me any favors. So even though the message is the same, the product that you're delivering might be the same, the people that you're using in the promotion is different. And then everyone uses technology differently. So understanding who your buyers are will help you right-size your tech. Are people coming to your website on a mobile phone, a tablet, a computer? Are they smartwatch users? Are they going to be part of the metaverse and be AR, VR connected people? Whatever that may be, the information you can collect can help you ensure that your digital experience is better as well. Not just your end user product, but when you think of even looking at websites today, font sizes and line spacing have gotten a lot different than they were 5 years ago. Fonts are bigger, line spacing is wider to make it easier to read. And that would have come by way of delivering a better digital experience by doing market research and understanding who's actually using the website and what devices that they're coming on. And then, of course, lastly, we can empower our sales team. Giving sales reps information on like who these target buyers are, what their personas are, their interests, their hobbies, will give the sales rep something to talk about other than the product itself, which goes back to when we're talking about on Tuesday, relationships are becoming more and more important in marketing. And so how do you build relationships? Well, that's usually the job of your sales and accounts team. Nobody wants to just talk about the product. I'm sure you've all been on sales calls or business development calls where out of a half an hour call, the first 10 minutes might be just talking about the weather or the sports or politics and what's going on or conferences that are coming up. And then you dive into business. So it really gives them a little bit of extra leverage on things to talk about. I'm just going to double check to see if we have any questions that have come in here. So I'm going to pause temporarily for a moment. Does anybody have any questions that they would like to ask before we move on to the next slide? Come off mute if you need to, or raise your hand in the participant panel. Scrolling through, nobody's coming off of mute. Fantastic. So we'll continue going.
Oh, no. Jackson has a question. It says a lot of great information. Oh, I'm sorry. There's a lot of great information, just trying to retain it. No questions quite yet. Thanks, Jackson.
Thanks, Jackson. And no worries, this will be available after as a download with a PDF of today's presentation. And Tina will also be uploading this to YouTube as well. So you can go and watch a replay later if you happen to miss something or you have to leave early like Alex does during this presentation. So keeping in mind the age gaps or age demographics. So this is really kind of what the generations look like. So the current generation is called the Alpha generation, which is actually a really cool name. Some of these generations get crappy names like Gen Z or Gen X, but we get the millennials, we got the baby boomers, we got the silent generation. Each of these generations of people have different ways of thinking based on the worlds they grew up in, right? So while somebody who's a Gen Z, and I'll use this as an example again, because it's really hot and very timely, but when we're thinking of non-binary, when we're thinking of trans rights, when we're thinking of things like that, people who were born in the silent generation or the baby boomers, this was something they didn't have to talk about. Even up until the 90s, homosexuality and gay rights were really not a thing. You didn't really see homosexuality in TV shows and movies. Even in late 90s, Friends, the TV show Friends, Chandler's dad was a cross-dresser, and he was embarrassed by it, right? So you think about the media that people grew up with. The further into a generation you go, the harder it is to break a habit. So if you grew up in the 40s and 50s thinking homosexuality was wrong, and people of different ethnicities were meant to be lower than you, then those are ingrained in you and things that you carry forward as prejudices today. Whereas people born in the generation where homosexuality has become the norm, where trans rights are becoming the norm, where gender fluidity, non-binary, all these new concepts, and I shouldn't call them new concepts, but new community, new outward presentations of things that have always existed are becoming more and more prominent, you're more likely to adopt them. And this is really a change management exercise. So the further you are into something, the harder it is to adjust and adapt to it, which is why you see so many grumpy old men just going, I don't understand why today's music sucks, today's TV show sucks, today's sports teams, why back in my day it was done this way. It's just because that's just the way they were born. And we're going to be the same way when we're 65 and crotchety old men as well. My dad is in that age range now where he's 65. He's like, I don't understand why people do this. I'm like, you don't have to. It's just leave it as it is. So keep this in mind when you're coming up with your demographics, and you can do your own independent research as to how each of these demographics think and the errors that they grew up in that might impact their thought process and how they go to business. So I'm going to open it up here, and I'm going to ask a question, and I'm hoping people will come off mute and answer this, but emotions sell, not logic. There are 10-ish different ways that people make decisions to buy. So I'd love people just to throw out some of these as to what are these factors, these emotional triggers that cause people to want to actually make a purchase decision. And if nobody willingly comes off mute, I'm going to start picking on people.
I would say fear.
Fear, yeah, that is absolutely right, Mitch. Fear. So fear of, was that Mitch?
That was Carter. No.
Sorry, Carter. I saw Mitch come off mute as well. Carter, that's absolutely right. So when we think of like fear of missing out, FOMO is a huge thing right now, or an exclusive event, a one-day sale, or fear of you don't want to die and leave too little insurance money for your family, or you don't want to die without a will, because if you don't have a will, the government's going to mess with your family when they're going through your estate. So that's fear's absolutely a big one. What else do we think is a good motivator?
Status.
Oh, sorry. Who's we got Jackson putting out. Let's go with Mitch. Mitch, did you want to? You were the second one off mute.
I'd say comfort.
Comfort. Yep. So comfort is kind of in there. It's part of that. Let me look. I got a list here of them. I'm just not showing them to you guys right now, but there is some element of comfort in there. It's a kind of like a decision anxiety, a trigger where people don't want to make it's a fear of the unknown, so they're going to buy what they already know. That's a comfort level. David.
Yeah, it's status.
Status, yes. We call that competition. People want to be, look what I have, or the keeping up with the Joneses. An example of this is my parents have two friends that are always competing with each other. One of them builds a new garage. The other one builds a taller garage with in-floor heating. One of them goes and buys a new hot tub. The other one goes and buys a better hot tub with a built-in towel warmer and a built-in TV. One of them wants to go on vacation to Puerto Vallarta. The other one books a trip to the Mayan Riviera, staying in a 5-star hotel, just because they always want to one-up the other person. So competition and that status is absolutely huge. We'll do one more, Jackson.
I don't want to sound like an evil villain, but I was thinking guilt could be along that line.
Yeah, guilt is on there too. It's so when you think of charities use guilt a lot, when you go, they'll play that sad music and they'll show you very skinny children in developing countries with flies all over them. They go, if you don't donate $5, this child will die. So they play on your guilt of give them money, otherwise bad things are going to happen to other people. So these are 10 of the big ones, and there's a bunch of different modeling. So this primary one has been used since like 2010. Entrepreneur.com was probably the first one to release it. people have come up with different names and different wording around this. And there's some other different modeling as well. But yeah, so we got fear, I don't want to, fear of missing out, fear of making a mistake, guilt, trust is the big one. So banks and financial institutions did no hidden fees. Airlines started doing the unbundled pricing where you could actually see how much the ticket was versus fuel surcharge versus airport fees. And companies do behind the scenes tours to give you, or I should say behind the scenes, where they'll show you what they want you to see so you feel better about your purchase decision. McDonald's did a huge thing. I don't know if you remember the Ask McD's campaign that they ran a couple of years ago, where they talked about, no, it's not pink slime. We have no idea what that is. Here's what actually goes into our chicken nuggets. They went for a tour of the Cargill factory where the burger patties are made and shows what actually goes into it. So they did this whole trust thing. Value is also a big one. Buy one, get one free, price matching campaign, scales of economy, where buy one and it's $1, buy two and it's $1.50 for both, buy three and it's $2. Or best value packaging, where you go to like a SaaS website and they go, here's one package, here's two package, here's three package, and one of those three columns is bigger than the other. That's a tactic to show that this is the value that they want you to buy by drawing your eyes to a specific value. Belonging, feeling like you're part of a family. So when we think of, and some of these will be a little bit of a crossover. So belonging is kind of like if you think of people who bought white headphones when iPods first came out because they wanted to be part of the iPhone crowd. They wanted to feel like they're part of a family or a sports team or other things like that. There's a lot of things where people just really want to feel like that they're included in something. We talked about competition. It's the look what I have. They want to impress people, that other people that they know or don't know, by things that they have. Instant gratification. Amazon has been the king of this. Amazon Prime 2-day shipping. And now with Amazon having 2 warehouses in Winnipeg, it's likely going to be same day shipping soon once they figure out all the logistics. They have same day shipping in Toronto now. SkipTheDishes, Uber Eats, instant gratification. You're hungry, food shows up. Leadership. A lot of people want to be the first to have something, not because of competition, but these are the people that are going to be lining up at the Apple store in 40 below weather to get the new iPhone. These are the people that are going to be lining up outside the movie theater to see the new Matrix movie on the premiere night, because they want to be the first for no other reason than they want to be the first. Trend setting, same sort of, it kind of ties in a little bit with belonging, but it's people who just really want to stay up with the trends. So if all of a sudden pink cars become all the rage, they'll go buy a pink car. If eating vegan all of a sudden becomes a trend, they'll be switched to veganism. And then if all of a sudden veganism falls out of favor and it's back to keto, they'll go keto. And when keto is no longer in favor, they'll go to something else. They just jump. They like to follow the trends because they want to feel, again, part of a group, but they like to be part of a trend setting group. And time is a big one. You go save time, get delivery. Or if we don't get your pizza in 30 minutes, it's free. People like to value their time. And I'm one of those people. I look at my time like I look at money. If it took me an hour and a half to earn, say, $50, then when I go to buy something that costs $50, I rationalize, it took me an hour and a half of my time to earn this. Do I actually need this? And so I'll share the link to this. If I can actually copy, let's see if I can copy the link out of, I can't copy it out, but I got the links to the original entrepreneur.com article where you can actually read the detailed descriptions and research that went into this. Oop. Sorry, going back here. Some of the other models too, and it's kind of complementary, but there's a group of people that have needs validations. These are the people that will post on social media about all the things that they're doing, because they want other people to validate their decisions for them. I bought this, and everyone goes, oh, that's great, fantastic. Well, now they feel validated that they made the right decision. There's also people that get decision anxiety. They don't want to make a decision because there's too many options. It's like you can go buy a car. Well, which car? There's so many different options. And these people get overwhelmed with too many decisions. So for us marketers, we have to keep it simple if we know that's who our buying group is. The I'm special people. I largely attribute these I'm special to social media influencers. I don't know if you've seen these The story this week about Sunwing had a flight with a bunch of people from Quebec who decided they were going to start drinking bottles of Grey Goose vodka and vaping on the plane and partying in the aisles because they were social media influencers and they think people actually gave a shit. Well, now they got banned from flying and they're facing fines and penalties from the government because of their actions that they actually filmed them doing this stuff on a plane. But that's the I feel special crowd. And then there's, again, the I gotta be first people. Then there's the know-it-alls who, and I'm the self-admitted know-it-all. I will do a bunch of research on different topics just so when a friend or a family member asks a question, I can be the one to deliver that value to them. And really, that's kind of what marketing is. You become the know-it-all in your own product, in your own industry, and you share that value willingly with whoever wants to know what the latest and greatest trends in your space are. And then there's the buy and get it done group. These are the people who hate shopping. And again, I fall into this crowd. If I go grocery shopping, I know exactly where what I want is. I'm in and I'm out. I don't window shop, I don't browse. If I go to Walmart, same thing. I walk in, I look for the big neon signs. I go, oh, that's where I'm going. I beeline straight to where I want to go. I'll cut through all the aisles. I'll get to where I want, grab what I need, and I'm out. I hate shopping. And so when we're talking to these different groups, understanding their emotional triggers and what they're thinking when they're shopping is really important. And both in the B2B and B2C space, I've seen these tactics used all the time in B2B, non-consumer packaged goods, where I'll get an email from a vendor going, hey, if you don't sign up for this, whatever, by tomorrow at noon, you're going to miss out on this deal. I'm like, no, I'm not, because I'm going to message you a week later and you're still going to give me the same price because I asked for it. It's like they're trying to create this fake sense of urgency. So I'm going to pause here. I see there's 5 chat messages. So I'm just going to go into the chat quickly and see what we've missed. So Perry says the need to impress. Yeah, we talked about that. Relatable experience. Yeah. Playing on insecurities, overwhelmed, stress, pain, more work, less work. Does it fit my values? Protect the environment, thrill seeking, freedom, well-being. Yeah. These are all great triggers. And as we move into a more modern era, I think these are going to change. There's going to be things in there like environmental triggers. I'm buying a new car. I'm going to buy an electric because it's less harmful on the environment. I'm going to buy products with less packaging because it's less harmful on the environment. I'm going to buy this brand of shoe over that brand of shoe because this brand of shoe is made in Canada and that brand of shoe is made by a 10-year-old in a sweatshop in China. So there's going to be all these cultural shifts that are going to come with people's buying decisions. So when we think of our personas, you could probably create an infinite number of personas to identify who your target audience is. But understanding that not all personas are created equal. So I'm going to share an example here, and these are quasi personas that we would use at SkipTheDishes. And so I don't remember the exact names because I haven't been there in a year. But Skip had 3 different persona groups for outward marketing. They had customers, those buying the food, couriers, those delivering the food, and restaurant owners, those who are selling the food. In customers, we had that broken down into 5 categories of the types of customers who make these purchases. So somebody who's ordering McDonald's on SkipTheDishes is somebody who's different than somebody who's ordering Moxies and a bottle of wine on SkipTheDishes. Somebody who's ordering at 2 o'clock in the morning is a different persona than somebody who's ordering at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. So we had all these personas developed, and Skip could do this because they had millions of customers. I think we had 5 million active customers, or they had 5 million active customers as of like Q2 of last year. So for them, breaking it down to this level worked very well. Then on the courier side, we had people that were doing couriers as a side hustle. They just wanted a little bit of extra money. They drove a couple hours a night. But then we had the full-time gig workers. These are the ones that were like doing Uber Eats, Uber Car Share, DoorDash, Instacart, SkipTheDishes. They were doing every gig worker driving job that they could, but it's a different mindset. And then of course, the restaurants, we had the independent restaurants. So places like Daily Grind Coffee in St. James, shout out to my buddy Eric who owns that place. We had corporate operators. So you would have like Starbucks restaurants are all corporate restaurants, but it's a chain. But even restaurants that have franchisees, if you own a Domino's Pizza, your interest in being on SkipTheDishes as a franchisee is different than Domino's corporate office being on SkipTheDishes. So we had all these personas and we knew exactly what each of these people were looking for through very expensive market research to understand what they were looking for. And again, it really doesn't have to be overly complex. You could create one persona, you could create 10 and just really identify what these people are looking for. So where you would start with creating a persona, ask your buyers. If you have actual customers, just ask them. Or look at your existing data. Look, if you're using HubSpot or Salesforce, go into your data, see who's buying from you today. If you've got your Google Analytics and your Google Tag Manager set up properly, you can use that. You can do online forms through like Typeform or Google Form, like I mentioned before. You can use social media data. Take some time to do some research and consider all the channels of information you have available to you and use that for your persona. So I'm going to go through an example of a persona. I'm going to review some tools, and then I'm going to share a link to our persona template. And this persona template, I believe, is 9 pages long. It's not overly daunting. There's only like 2 or 3 questions on a page, but it's going to walk you through all the same stuff you're going to see in the next handful of slides that talk about the persona. So when we build a persona, it helps to start with an image. So I just went to pexels.com and I'll put it in here. PEXELS.com. There's also unsplash.com. Both of these websites give you royalty-free pictures. You can type in gray-haired old man. You can type in teenage boy. You can type in middle-aged woman. You can type in mom. Type in whatever you want. They'll give you images. Find an image that best represents your buyer and give them a name. So that's case I went with Mark Esposito for no other reason than I just thought of a name. First Financial Services is a company that they're with. They're in a director of client services role. They've been in this job for 6 months. He's 41 and he goes by he, him. So of course, in previous, about 10 years ago when we were doing personas, it would have been male, female. It's time to break out of those stereotypes of 2 genders and go non-gender binary, because all your ad targeting tools allow you to target non-gender binary now. So it really helps to understand who these people are. So now we know who Marco is. And my thing seems frozen. Give me 1 sec here. I can't switch slides. There we go. So what about First Financial? So we know Marco, but who's First Financial? What is their website? What social media sites are they on? What is their primary industry? How many employees do they have? How many locations do they have? What is their annual income or annual revenue as a company? Fleshing this out, again, the first few questions allow for advertising targeting. If you had a list of companies, you could use that information to do LinkedIn targeting. So LinkedIn targeting, you can say, here's their website, here's their LinkedIn profile, go target these people. But it also allows you to go through their social media and do research. What are their pain points? What are they posting about? What are their consumers posting about? So for example, if you see that people are complaining on WestJet's website about customer service times and wait times, and your solution just happens to be a chatbot that can reduce customer wait time by 25% and increase customer satisfaction from an NPS score of 6 to an NPS score of 8, that might be something worth looking at. So you can use your ideal clients' websites and other information to find out what these people's pain points are. How are decisions made at their company? The larger the company, the more complex their buying process will be. The larger the company, the more fragmented the budget authority will be. So if you have a small mom and pop company, the decision might be, I'm just going to buy it. If it's a larger company, you might have a manager who has budget authority up to $25,000. The director might be up to $100,000. The VP might be up to $250,000. The C-level might be up to $500,000, and anything over $500,000 needs to go to the board. How are these decisions made influences your timeline for your sales. It influences how you pitch and how you promote. It influences the content you're going to create to keep this person on the hook until the deal is complete. So going back to our flywheel, we want to create content for every step of that journey. And these decisions help influence that. How do they evaluate new products? Who's involved with the purchase decision for something that you're selling? And what does success look like? All these are questions you need to be asking yourself because these are the same things that they're going through internally. So if you can stifle their objections or help with their buying process ahead of time, you'll be more likely to win the deal. So we dive into, what does Marco actually do? What's his areas of responsibility? What does a day look like for him? Who does he report to and who reports to him? And you'll understand why this is important a little bit later. What are his KPIs and metrics that he's measured by? If somebody's in the director of client services, their goal is likely going to be client retention and client satisfaction scores on like an ENPS or NPS scale. Does your service or solution boost customer retention and customer satisfaction? If it does, he's likely going to be interested in it. If it doesn't, does Marco have a kitty, or does Mitch have a cat? Yeah. Yeah, my cat's scratching at the door to come in. So we have all these different things you can do. So if your solution has nothing to do with Marco's KPIs, there might be a better person within the organization you can meet with or target that would be more in line. How does he and his team contribute to the overall company goals? So companies can have a North Star, and it might be, in this case, the financial services. We want to retain our customer. We want to retain 90% of our customers over the next 12 months, and we want to attract 1 million new customers over the next 12 months. Well, he's part of that, but there's other teams. There's a client acquisition team. There's a marketing team. There's the branch. There's everybody else that's playing a role into this. So understanding all the cogs of an organization will really help you understand who that buyer is, what keeps them up at night, and how they can win. So then what are the challenges he experiences on a day-to-day operation? In some industries, there might be regulatory, there may be legislative, there might be company policies that slow things down. Some industries have their own specific regulations that have nothing to do with government or legislative rules. Alex will probably recognize this term, but shoot, it's slipping my mind now. Self-regulated health professionals or self-regulated professionals. You have engineers who are self-regulated. You have doctors that are semi-self-regulated. You have accountants that are self-regulated. When you see like CPA or CMA or PNG at the end of somebody's name, it usually means that there's some regulating body that's telling them what they can and can't do. And how do they overcome these challenges? Now, what I call the raves and waves section is, why would Marco be a raving fan of your product? If he could take anything away from it, what features and benefits would he care about the most? And more importantly, what would his objections be? Why would Marco say no? So think about that. Think about all the objections this person's going to create for you, and then create content for. So when they start coming out with, well, yeah, but I can't use your solution because it's going to cost too much to implement. You go, well, actually, it's not going to cost too much to implement. Our studies show that the average company can implement our solution for $25,000, and they'll see an ROI of 3x in the first 9 months on their initial spend. And so if you lay out and quash your objections, it makes your job a lot easier. And then, are there any specific tools or proprietary systems that they use? You'll see job postings all the time that say, we want somebody with experience in Oracle NetSuite, or we want somebody with experience in Salesforce Marketing Cloud, or other industry specific tools. So what tools do they need to do their job? Do they have any specific education and licensing requirements? Where do they go to school, and what degree do they have? So it's interesting with that, and I'll show you why in two slides, but all this really builds up to a holistic understanding of who your consumer is. Then we break into the personal interests. What are his hobbies? What websites does Marco visit? What social media sites can you find him on? Does he read print publications still? And if so, which ones? And does he go to trade shows and other events? And thinking about this, you'd be like, yeah, that makes sense, because if I know what trade shows he's going to, I can go to these trade shows too and do some networking. Or if I know what publications he's reading, I can target ads to those publications. All this gives you a really holistic view. And again, this is a reason why a company like TechBlocks doesn't advertise on Snapchat or TikTok, because we just don't need to, because that's not where our customers are. So again, why so much detail? It's all about targeting. So in an example, using this financial services, we know there's 20 million Canadians on LinkedIn today. Out of those, 820,000 identify as being in banking or financial services, and 2,500 are in senior client services roles. In another example, we know that there's, same 20 million Canadians, there's 550,000 people who claim to work in higher education in Canada, so post-secondary institutions. 36,000 of those work in administrative positions, and 11,000 identify that they're in a senior position. So if your product is targeting universities or colleges, and you are understanding, okay, there's 11,000 people, you can narrow this down further. So who's responsible for student life? Who's responsible for healthcare? Are these people on the student council? Is it the president of the student council? Who are these people, and are they the right fit for your service? So really narrowing this down, because we don't all have unlimited budgets. If I were to target 20 million Canadians on, hey, TechBlocks builds custom software for startups and enterprise across Canada, I'm going to miss the mark. But if I could target 1,000 people with the message, they're going to be more likely to buy. So typically, if you look at online advertising statistics, a good click-through rate on Google search is like 1.9% to 2%. Google display ads, so like a banner ad you see on a website, might be in the 0.35 to 0.5% click-through rate. By doing narrow targeting like this, I'm able to achieve like 3-4x the industry averages, because I'm not taking a shotgun approach. I'm investing my company's money wisely, targeting people that we know are the buyers. And with us, we have a lot of research. We've been doing this for 15 years. We know who our buyers are. We know what types of people buy from us. We know what their budgets are. We know what their internal constraints are. So for us, it's really easy to target people who are in that buying mode. But not only is it good for advertising, it's also good for relationship building. It lets you know what events to go to. And if you're going to play in the modern world of podcasts a little bit, or I guess a new modern world of podcasts, you know what types of podcasts you should be seeking out participation in. You know what podcast topics you should be developing on your own. And you know the types of audiences or guest speakers you should be bringing on. So when we're looking at personas as well, it's important to understand that we're not only looking at our buyer, but who's influencing them. So I'm sure we've all been in a spot where your boss comes to you and goes, hey, somebody sent me this, I want you to look into it. And if you've ever been in middle management, you've probably had your team members come up to you and go, hey, I found this really cool thing I want us to consider. And then your target buyer's in the middle trying to weigh out information that's being pushed down to them and being pushed up to them to make a decision to get their boss's approval. So if you were to think of somebody that's a director of customer service might have their KPI of being customer retention. And so their goal is to retain 85% of their customers over the next 12 months. Their boss doesn't really actually care about customer retention. Their boss cares about something like cost per user acquisition, lifetime value, and things like that. And their team might go, man, using these current tools takes me a lot of time that I'm wasting on things I don't want to be doing. So if you position the same product to the team member saying, this tool will save you time and frustration, you tell your buyer, the target buyer, that this product will increase your customer satisfaction scores, and you tell their boss that this product will increase your customer lifetime value, decrease your cost per acquisition, and increase your revenue forecast by 22%. You're selling the same thing to 3 different people. Their team member is going to push it up and go, this is going to save me time to free me up to do other things. Their boss is going to push it down and say, doing this will save us money and make us money. And your target audience is going to be able to go to their boss and say, I found this really cool thing that improves our customer service. So we need to look at it from different perspectives. Now, if you're in a position, again, you're a startup, you don't have a lot of time or resources to go and do market research, Google Analytics is your friend. So this is a report I pulled from one of the websites I have access to. And this was for Q3 of last year. So we can see that overwhelmingly this person's website or this website is male orientated. And we know that most people visiting this website are 25 to 34 years of age. Your metrics will be different depending on what you're selling. Google will also tell you in Google Analytics their affinity category and their in-market category. So this is diving more into that like psychographic buyer intent data. The two differences are an affinity category is who you are at your core. So I'm a technophile. I love technology. I love new things. Like I love the idea of flip phones. I love EV cars. I love things like that. So I might be grouped into the technophile category. I am not a big sports fan. I am not a shopper, but this will show who's viewing our website. So in this case, the people viewing this company's website are overwhelmingly, or I guess I should say overwhelmingly, but you can see the percentage differences are that the largest affinity group are people that are shopping. We are not a company, this client's website is not one that sells anything. So the fact that the largest affinity group is shoppers tells me that their targeting is off. And then we need to focus on one of those other categories to boost that up. Now on the right, the in-market category is what they're actively looking for today. So 3.5% of the people visiting their website are looking for a job, which when we look at the pages these people are viewing, lines up with their career section. The second one is people are looking for business services and technology. Again, we know that this is true because we know what pages they're viewing on the company's website. But using this information, you can help quantify the types of people that are viewing your website and what they're actually looking for. Another tool, and I'm going to give you the link for this one, it's Environics Prism. Environics is one of the largest research companies in Canada. They do research for Stats Canada, like they're a partner of Statistics Canada to help process the census. They do work with private companies to understand who the buyers are. So you put on your buyer, your marketing hat, you go, okay, who's the person who's likely going to buy from me? So let's say you're a high-end car dealership. Let's say it's a Genesis car, or it's not AutoCorp, and they sell all these like consignment things. You might go, okay, well, somebody who's going to buy from this person is likely going to live in, like say Tuxedo or Linden Ridge or Charleswood. So what you do is you punch in the postal code of the neighborhood where you think your buyer would live. Environics will then tell you all this information: the average household income, do they own or rent, what is their net worth, what is their education, they're likely to be a young family. They'll even tell you how they think. So remember the things we're talking about before. It's important to me that people admire the things I own. That's that competition piece. I like to be in a large crowd. Belonging. The internet provides improves the relationships I have. Belonging. I often buy things just because they're beautiful, whether or not they're practical. So you can see how this information actually ties into the personas that you're developing. And you can actually see how they live. They shop, they like to go camping. They shop at Sports Check. They read parenting magazines. They shop at Sobeys. They trade GICs online. They use teeth whitening. They visit sports websites. They dine at sub and sandwich restaurants. Their car is worth between $30,000 and $50,000. All this is information that you can get for free by going to this website, prism.environicsanalytics.com, and you punch in a postal code. So I'm actually going to give you a second here. I want you to all go to this website. I'm going to punch it into the chat to make it easier for you to click. But go to this website, punch in your postal code, and let's see what it says about you and see how correct it is. Now, not all postal codes are available. They typically focus on urban markets or larger urban centers. So if you punch in a postal code in the middle of a farmer's field, you're not likely going to get any results. Or new postal codes like the new Student Life Center on the corner of Bison Drive and Pembina Highway, their postal code hasn't been processed yet because that whole building has its own postal code. But you can try your postal code or a postal code of where you think one of your target audience members would live and see what comes up. And so how you find the postal code, if you don't know it, is just go to Google Maps, do Google Street View, or punch in an address on a street that you think this person would live on, and then grab the postal code and punch it in. So I'm going to give you guys like 2 minutes just to go and try Environics Prism and just to see if it lines up with what you think your audience or your audience would be. And while we're doing that, I'm going to open it up to questions. If anybody has a question, just come off a mute and then I'll call on you to talk.
I thought that was hilarious. I love looking that up, and this is going to be definitely something that I'm going to be using a lot for sure in my line of business.
Yeah, it's great information, hey? Like it's just, and these update regularly. So you'll be able to see the dates that things were updated, I believe, and get more information on these different profiles. Okay. So now we're going to go into the big exercise. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a link to our persona template, and I'm going to bring it up on the screen. What I'd like everybody to do is take 10 minutes to go through and start populating this template. Just before I continue, Gerald, I don't know if there's one for the UK. Environics is largely a Canadian-based company, but I have not had the need to do any research for one for the UK. So I apologize, I can't help with that. So I'll share the template. I'll walk you through it very quickly, and then I want you to spend about 10 minutes going through the template and just start looking at who this audience could be or who your persona would be. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen for 1 second. When you click on this link, it's going to open a Google Doc or a Google Drive to, it'll open a Google Drive or Doc that's in read-only mode. What you'll need to do is click on the File menu and go down to Download, and then choose Word Doc or another format that you can open on your computer. I'm just going to share my screen again here. All right. So the persona template has all the same things we talked about before. So you can insert a picture at the top, like when you download it as Word, remove the picture that's in there, insert one. Microsoft Word has a built-in, you go to the Insert tab, choose Photo, choose Online Photo. It gives you a whole bunch of free stock photos if you want to do it the easy way. Who's their name, age, their gender, and then again, the company information. I apologize, it's scrolling a little bit chunky here, but what's their industry, their employees, annual revenue, how are purchase decisions made. So it's all the same thing we talked about. But I want you to take a couple minutes and go through and start thinking about these items. And you're probably not going to make it past a couple of the boxes, but I want to give everyone about 10 minutes to go through. And there's a couple spelling mistakes in there, so oops. But go through, fill it out to the best you can, and we'll circle back at about 1:10 just to see how people are going. During this process, I'm going to turn off my webcam for a moment. But if you have any questions, please just come off of mute or raise your hand in the participant panel, and then we'll call on you and we can help answer some questions.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Everyone, enjoy creating your persona. Do let us know if you need anything. We're right here for you.
Yeah, and over the next few days, it'll be helpful if you create, I would say, at the low end, try to create 1 or 2 personas that best fit your buyers. At the high end, if you have the time, create as many as you want. If you create 10, 20 personas, please do so. But then narrow them down and understand who that ideal buyer is. Because you can't be all things to all people, even though all people may want to buy from you. So just really think about who those people are, who that audience is, and then make sure that you're self-selecting down to the types of people that you actually want that you actually think are those ideal decision makers, and make sure you're trying to do it based on factual information as best you can where available. And failing that, look at your Google Analytics, look at your Facebook Analytics, look at your LinkedIn Analytics, use the Prism tool, use all the sources of online information you can to try to do a little bit of research over the next 4 days, 5 days before we come back on Tuesday. But I'm gonna go on mute again, and I'll just let you work on this till about 1:10 or so. All right, everyone. We'll come back now to the main group here. So the template should probably take you, anywhere between, I'd say 20 minutes and half an hour to fully fill out for one. And again, I recommend trying to create 3 to 5 different personas that you think would be a good fit for your product or your service. Just want to open it up to the group. Did anybody have any initial feedback, any initial thoughts? How did you find the first part of the exercise using the persona template? All right, no feedback. That works for me. I'm assuming everyone's probably still stuck on mute or still filling it out. But yeah, over the next couple of days, fill out the template as best you can. As for some more homework, do some competitive research. If you're in the B2B space and you're selling software or business services, check out some competitive research on sites like g2.com, Clutch, Upcity, and other business-specific directories. These companies like G2 and Gartner, I'm sure you're all familiar with the Gartner Magic Quadrant, but these sites will give you some good insights as to what the pain points are of buyers who are looking for software like yours. So read the positive reviews, read the negative reviews of your competitors, and see how that information can go into the sections of the persona template where we're talking about pain points or how do they fix problems in their business. If you're more consumer focused, look at things like Yelp, Google reviews, and Facebook reviews. There's no shortage of customers that like to complain. We all know that people are more likely to post a negative review than they are to post a positive review. But the negative reviews will give you some insights as to what are these people looking for that can go into your personas or into future content. Amazon reviews, if you're a consumer packaged good company or you're selling consumer physical products, go check out Amazon. You can check out Best Buy's website. You can check out any third-party marketplace to understand what people think of competitors' products, or if your products are already in market, what do they think of your products? And of course, Reddit and Quora are also great sites you can go to look for alternative information on what people are looking for. Additionally, there's LinkedIn groups. You can go to LinkedIn groups, see what your competitors are asking about, see what your buyers are asking about in LinkedIn groups. Facebook groups are the same thing. There's also new startup sites like MeWe.com, Nextdoor. There's a lot of different places you can find information on your competition and what people think about them and their products, as well as you or your products or services. So looking into, again, for next week, try to complete 3 to 5 personas, at least a minimum of 1 if you're strapped for time, because starting on Tuesday, on the Tuesday session, we're going to start talking about the types of problem content these buyers will be looking for. Bring your persona template with you. Next week will be done into breakout group sections. So if we have the same sort of numbers we have today, we're going to have 3 groups of 6, give or take, or 4 groups of 4 sort of numbers. And during those sessions, you'll review what your company does, who the persona is you came up with, and then you'll be working collaboratively in a group to understand other people's point of views on your product or service. So you'll be giving them ideas on what problem content you think is relevant to their business, and they'll be giving you problem content that they think is most relevant to your business. And we'll be going through that exercise together. I'll come up with some demo content for everyone just based on who's in the chat with us today. And we'll work collaboratively to start uncovering some content opportunities for the top of the funnel. So I'd like to open it up again to any questions. Does anybody have any questions or comments about the material we've reviewed today or on Tuesday? Oh, we've got some questions in the chat box here. Let's see what we got. Jackson says no questions, just grateful and with everything. Thank you. You're very welcome, Jackson. Appreciate having you in the chat with us today. Gerald says such eye-opening content. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I love creating content that I can share with other people, that it's easy to digest and meaningful. So if you've taken anything away from this, grateful that I was able to help you.
I just want to say, Kevin, I think the way you explain everything so great and that you elaborate so far is the reason why you've answered all our questions. That's what I'm thinking.
Excellent. Well, that's good to know. Thank you, Jackson. All right. Well, if there are no other questions, I'll turn it back over to Tina for closing remarks. Again, don't be a stranger. If you want to connect on LinkedIn, please feel free to add me or follow me. Send me a message if you have any questions. I did receive questions from members of this group on Tuesday and Wednesday that I was able to help and prep them for today's course. Don't be a stranger. I'm always happy to help and share some information. Oh, we did get a question here. Let me just read it out. If someone was selling something to you who doesn't like shopping, what would they do? Great question. Give me delivery or curbside pickup as an option. To be completely honest, I hate going into stores. I will research the crap out of a product online. But if I can just drive up and get what I want without ever having to go in a store or get curbside delivery, like delivery to my house, I'm great. Even to the extent of I know what baby food my son likes now. So every couple of weeks I get a box from Walmart that's like 2 feet high, full of baby food, like jars of like baby mush, finger foods, and other things that he likes. And I never have to go into a store. So it's absolutely wonderful. If you are selling something that, like clothing items, my wife is actually attached to online clothing shopping now, but she buys from places that'll send her 3 or 4 sizes of the outfit that she's looking at. And then they'll take back the ones that don't fit her. So if you're in that kind of space and you're selling things that are consumable or wearable, consider a return policy like that as well, where, and of course you build it into your price, or you send them a return label with it that they can send back the items that they didn't want. But consider that as an option as well, especially as we're likely to see more pandemic restrictions coming with the current wave of Omicron. Shopping might get limited again, so consider online shopping, online return.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Kevin. How about we give everybody about 10 minutes back? And I just want to say thank you so much for helping us understand the buyer's persona and for answering everybody's questions, Kevin. And thank you, everyone, for being a wonderful part of the North Forge Discovery Series. We are continuously improving our events and would really love your feedback with a short 1-minute survey. I will pop that into the chat. We got a few people responded last week and we really appreciate it. Your thoughts are really important to us. Watch your email for the links to the video and all the reference documents and websites that Kevin talked about today. I'll be sending that to you later today. And we're looking forward to seeing you all at the 3rd free webinar in this content series called Understanding the Problem Phase of the Buyer's Journey. We suggest that you attend each one as the information builds upon itself. Each session provides the layers of information needed for the upcoming sessions. If you haven't had a chance to sign up for the free webinar yet, I will put that link into the chat. If you have an idea and that would solve a problem in your industry and you would like to find out more information about our Founders Program, please visit our website or reach out to our Program and Communication Manager, Krista Kowalik, and I'll add her info into the chat again. And before we wrap up for the day, we would like to thank our sponsors, Bell MTS, TDS Law, RBCX, Bitspace Development, Princess Auto, Stu Clark Center for Entrepreneurship at the University of Manitoba, Boxall Construction, 6P Marketing, and PCL Construction. And that wraps up our 2nd of 8 content marketing webinars. Have a wonderful rest of the day, everybody. Take care.
Bye, everybody. Thank you again for attending.